Hey everyone, this is Jakai's Cradle, wide receiver for Georgia State University, and you listen to FLOGcast Network. Go Panthers!
Hello. Welcome back. Yes, to the FLOGcast Network. Jay Ralph in the house today. Glorious day. Glorious Thursday here in the Flog. And yes, as you can see, that beautiful logo that popped up right before we got on. You saw our beautiful faces. It is TC Thursday. That means Mr. TC is right next to me. Right here, I think, right? Nope. This way. Yep, he's right there. There it is, TC. How's it going, Mr. TC?
It's going, man. We're here. We're live. We on a Thursday talking about fantasy football.
How do you beat that, man? How do you beat it?
You can't.
Heck.
Maybe some water. Some water will make us talk easier and keep our whistles wetted.
Wetted. Okay. Good. All right. Well, hey, TC, thanks for joining us today. We got a lot to go over. We got to go through last week's matchups, overall results, week 3 matchups, and also we have to go through real quick, TC, the waiver wire pickups that happened. You were heavily involved in that, unfortunately, and we will discuss that here in a little bit, and then we will talk about week 4 matchups, some good ones, some dandies here this week. So TC, week 3, no big deal. We will start with my matchup, and heck, you know what? I get one of those. Okay, TC, I shocked the world. I did.
You did. You
shocked
really
the world.
did.
No big deal.
You shocked yourself.
Absolutely not. I did not shock myself. We knew we were going to win, but here's what I can say. Okay, I can say this.
We knew.
Jacob's team, the Skinnessy Titans, they're human. They're human.
Yes, they're human.
Everyone here, everyone was screaming, oh, Jacob's team is the best in the world, best fantasy team ever. And here they are losing to my mediocre 2 draft picks in the first 7-round team. And 178.1 to 155.0. The Skinnessy humans is what they should be called, TC. Any shocking result, mind-blowing things here?
Yeah, honestly, your team just came out. There were so many touchdowns. Devontae Smith had a huge day. And then your flex each got a touchdown. It was great. Your team performed. If they could do this all the time, you're making a deep run into the playoffs. I'm impressed. You did really good job, dude, drafting with, like you said, 2 picks in the first 7 rounds, and you did this.
Right.
Dude, yeah. It's just a
Give me some, just looking at my roster, TC, we're going to go with you. What was some, give me one strength and one weakness on my team from last week.
Well, honestly, right now, your running back strength is I think you might have the best 4 running backs or close to, if you count the 2 starters and flex that are running backs, you've got a really good situation going for you. Every single one of them got a touchdown this past week, and that is huge. Your only weakness is really, I think tight end is one, but tight ends are hard if you don't get one. I mean, tight ends are always hard. We never know who's going to be the guy, and there's always a rotation. You always find later in the draft certain guys that pop off at certain times. Freiermuth, he's not a bad player. He's still young. It's hard to have anybody on the Steelers really getting fantasy relevant numbers when their QB is just not. He's performing not overwhelming or underwhelming. He's at a middle level. He gets enough to get him by. Your quarterback situation hasn't been great now. Cousins isn't doing bad. He's not throwing interceptions, but 260 yards and 2 touchdowns, 20 points. I guess we'll take it. You'd rather have 25 to 30 points from your quarterbacks. And in the quarterback matchup here, Jacob McKinley with Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts, he kind of blew you away. but you have consistency this week. That's what did it for you. Every single one of your players was involved. Your wide receivers were really good. Curtis Samuel still 7 receptions, and that's a bright spot because you want your receivers to be getting receptions, and every single one of your 7, 8, 7. So they're getting points in that. Um, Now kicker, I mean kicker and defense. I don't know where we even go with that. Like it's
Yeah,
just like
don't have to talk
they
about that. Don't have to talk
cool.
about that,
Thanks.
TC. But yeah, heck, man, my team looked well, and hopefully they will continue to do that. Lots of guys though stepping up. Hopefully that is a trend there. But Skinny Titans, again, quarterback play, extremely big positives there. You got Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, 28.7, 30.6. Those are positives here. But TC, a big negative, and actually a couple negatives. One though, in particular, Justin Jefferson. Last 2 weeks, he has scored TC under 10 points. Now, should there be any concern here? Or is it something not to worry about? Because again, just he's getting targeted. Well,
Yeah.
he was targeted week 2, but not as much week 3. I mean, just week 3 was just not a good week. 2.9 fantasy points, and that's why it was big negative there for the Skinny Titans. And also Darren Waller only putting up 3.7, and Brandon Cooks only putting up 3.2. So those right there really hurt Skin, making his team kind of normal. Compared to the last 2 weeks, knocked him down to 2-1 Skin or TC 2-1.
Yeah, he only scored 3 touchdowns outside of his quarterbacks. Jonathan Taylor, 10.6 points. Uh, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he was really only valuable in the passing game, which is perfect for Jake McKinley right now. Got a
Mm,
touchdown still. But his keepers did not perform. And that is his core. And that's the only way that he's going to be able to continue putting up the numbers that we have seen him put up is when his keepers come to play. And they didn't come to play this week. They heard that the LeBron Kings were in the house. They kicked their feet up. They ate some chips and they drank some Gatorade. And they were laughing, they were laughing coming into the week. They didn't think that it was a serious matchup. But your boys came to play. And it's obvious. And you walked away with a 23.1 point victory over the reigning champs. And I think it's great, dude. This is what we love about fantasy football. You can't decide from based on the projections. The projections would have had him at 178 and you 155.
mm.
But looky here, dude. You walked away with a big W. This might be the
Big
biggest W of
win.
the year so far.
It's a big win for
And
this. Mm.
this is this is some crap here. If Lamar Jackson just plays a normal nutty, absolutely nutty, and the rest is history.
Can we
for you.
That's fantasy. Keegan escaped, moving him to 2-1, tying the same record as Scotty Benzie. So,
What this last
get
week has shown us is that every team has a capability. I'll say every team, but I'll omit myself. Every team has a capability of scoring high and scoring low.
hmm
This matchup right here kind of proves it to us. We thought that both of these teams were, they are good on paper, but just this down week, you're not seeing any touchdowns. But then you also start having to worry about some of your players who aren't performing. Like is Javonte Williams was he keeper worthy at this point? He's
right.
not getting anything. When you realize what the snap count is going to be,
hmm
it's like that's hard. He did put Waddle in, and I think he'll keep Waddle there now after that big game that he had. But even looking at his bench, DJ Moore, Gabe Davis, they haven't really done anything except for Gabe Davis's first week. I feel like Chase Edmonds is a fraud. He's got 21 yards and 2 touchdowns with 6 receiving yards. Like the dude, absolute efficient. That was the best he could have done, just getting 2 touchdowns and nothing. So, Keegan's got a lot to deal with if he wants to really get more consistency um, on his team. So he's going to have to make some moves. If he had one more really good receiver, or maybe even quarterbacks too, because everyone was giving me flack. Why didn't I keep Murray? Why did I trade for Burrow? Man, I don't think Murray's that good. Okay, he's great. He really is good. But fantasy wise, I'm not a believer in him. And then Jared Goff kind of looked like his old self with that performance. Coming from a 4 touchdown game to a 1 touchdown, 1 interception game. Like this is Jared Goff we all know. He's a little inconsistent. He does have those big splashes. That's what Keegan was hoping for. Now, even though
hmm
he did have a poor performance, he still won, so it doesn't matter. Like all this bad performance doesn't matter because he got the weak win. But you do have to worry about a little bit some of these players who aren't getting the volume and the consistency that he needs them to get if he wants to make a true run towards the championship.
Absolutely. And heck, Scotty did mention that there's only two teams this week, or I'm sorry, last week, week 3, that only scored over 150 points. And that was the matchup with Skin and I. Everybody
Yeah.
else had under 150 points, which is not normal in our league. That's low scoring. Let's move on to another low scoring matchup. Terry's Terrorist found a nut. Certainly did. Good job for Marcus. He improved to 1-2, defeating the Brownie Batter team 142.1 to 116.6. Connor Lindback had the lowest score of the week, lower than you, TC. Good job. Good
Can you
job.
play the clapping hands for that too?
Absolutely. We'll get you one of those. Yep. Good
Yes.
job, TC.
Thank you.
Bouncing Connor to a 1-2 record. With his team, I mean, he started Justin Fields. That was a no. David Montgomery got hurt. Started him though, 1.1 fantasy points. Tyreek Hill did not have a good week with 4.3. He started the rookie in the New York Jets, Garrett Wilson. He only gave him 9 points. And Darnell Mooney, 3.3 fantasy points. Derek Carr did well. Barkley is still, doing very well, and A.J. Brown's doing well. But there's a lot of holes in this offense, TC. Darnell Mooney being one of them. He's not having the breakout year that everyone was expecting. But also Kyle Pitts, another positive. He actually scored more than 2 points. Good for him. But again, Darnell Mooney, not looking good, and Justin Fields also not looking good. Just the overall Chicago Bears offense, I feel, just not looking good. How you feel about Connor Lindbeck's team?
Yeah, holes definitely. He's not going to be able to keep his boat from sinking if he doesn't plug them. Like you said, the whole Bears kind of situation. Starting Justin Fields over Russell Wilson. I mean, Russ is cooked. It seems like he is. He's not really doing much, but you still have to play him over Justin Fields until Fields proves it, in my opinion. Montgomery, that's unfortunate, and he also has Khalil Herbert on the bench who absolutely went bonkers.
Mm,
Really, basically won the game for the Bears. So that. At least he has that to patch up this week. But Darnell Mooney, like I think everybody bought the hype train that Darnell Mooney was a great route runner, great hands, speedy. Justin's going to get him the ball. So now we have to start like questioning like where's the problem? Where is the problem with the Bears? If you wanna like find out what these guys are dealing with, is it their quarterback? I think that it might be until he starts delivering better play. Then these fantasy options they're going to be irrelevant still. I traded Darnell Mooney in an eighth rounder for Tony Pollard, and I think I won that trade. I'm so happy that I got rid of him because I probably would have started him a few times and had even worse scores than I do now. So thank you for that, Connor Lindback. Appreciate that.
Mm.
Kyle Pitts though, finally getting some action. That is nice to see. I think he started Garrett Wilson because Garrett Wilson had an insane week 2,
Yeah.
and also his target share is. I mean, he's getting a lot of targets each game. Honestly, the Jets, they're with Joe Flacco as the quarterback, he was dishing it out to everybody. Like everybody was getting targets. Everybody was like getting points. So that's a weird situation. Now with AJ Brown, he did great. Awesome. Tyreek Hill, you're going to have a few of those games. It was just kind of a one-sided game, Miami versus Buffalo. Even though Buffalo like had possession of the ball most of the time, had a whole bunch of yards, they couldn't score, they couldn't find it into the end zone. So they were never really playing from behind Miami. So I don't know, maybe they didn't feel the need to. And then when Tua got knocked out, the back injury, maybe that had something to do with it. But that's fantasy for you. But Terry Harris, they did decent enough. Now, when you have a team that goes for 116 points, you don't have to worry about your team
Don't worry
going.
about it. No.
Yeah. So all you need to do is get a few touchdowns, just score your projection, and you should be able to walk away with that.
You got Trey,
Uh,
of course, we mentioned it. Trey Lance going down for the rest of the year. What was, Marcus going to do? He picked up Geno Smith with a whopping $7, but actually came up worth it a little bit. 20.9 fantasy points there for Marcus. Matthew Stafford, though, not doing good. Not doing good at all. He only gave, 10 fantasy points last week. The week before, 21.8, but week 1, 8.8. So, I mean, that's 2 out of 3 weeks that Matthew Stafford has put up duds. Someone that you drafted, for a quarterback a little bit earlier than most, and he's not putting up, those numbers. His running backs also did not do well. Fournette and Joe Mixon, 2 keepers of Marcus's, both under 10 points. Debo, Samuel, Terry McLaurin, Drake London, all 3 doing pretty well. Travis Kelce did well, and James Conner under 10. But Cordell Patterson, his second flex option, 21.8 points. I like watching Patterson play. It looks like, he's larger than most people, but he's still got that speed that he's kept for a little while. Heck, last year, he's a top 5 running back as of right now, kind of similar with what he did last year, TC, and just enjoyable to watch, even for this, Atlanta Falcons team.
Yeah, Cordy P has been, and last year when this kind of production started happening, everyone's like, oh, well, can he sustain it? And that kind of played through the narrative of the season. Can he still sustain it? Now we're looking at it. This is the second year, and he's just being utilized in so many different ways. 141 yards, a touchdown. Like this guy is playing his best football right now. And this is all like rushing. He's breaking it free. He's doing stuff like it's insane. It's awesome to see. Like, what year is he?
Like, how old is he?
I guess, but I mean, like, I'm just trying to think, like, why didn't we never like got to see this, before and now when we consider him an old man. So it's kind of crazy, but to pick him up, to draft him, and for him to like come in like this and play the way he has, that's great. This is a guy that you got to start every week right now until he breaks something and he can't play.
He's
That's
our
the only way.
age, TC. He is 31. Was drafted, from Tennessee in
He's your age.
2013, the first round.
He's your age, old man. I don't want to
Okay.
hear it.
He was born in 91, so heck, I'm older than him.
Oh my gosh.
I know it.
That's
He's been
crazy.
bouncing around. He was in Minnesota, Oakland, New England, Chicago for a couple of years, and now he's in Atlanta. And heck, I think he's having the best careers, or best, he has played his best in his career last 2 years in Atlanta. So
Yeah, it's been great. It's been fun to watch. Good for fantasy. You always want to see players perform well. Marcus really hit on that pick, so and I like that.
Yep,
And what you were talking
absolutely.
about with Matt Stafford, he's got 5 interceptions and 4 touchdowns this year. That's rough. I think that he's got a little bit of the Kigsy disease going on, but also he
Who?
realizes like
Oh, you're talking about Stafford. Okay,
Stafford, yeah, he
gotcha.
he won the Super Bowl, right? Like that is something he never thought was possible until he got traded to the Rams. They had a crazy year. Now I think this year that I mean, while the Rams did win the game, they've got some they've got to change up. They've got to do something to try and get their offense rolling like it was last year. It doesn't help that their running back situation is kind of a mess. There's no real receivers on that team except for Cup. And Matthew Stafford was dealing with an injury, right? Like he's still kind of hurt, is what the reports say. So, but he's always been playing hurt. So I don't know. He did leave some points on his bench with Thielen and I mean I guess Melvin Gordon, but I don't start Melvin Gordon over anybody there. And the only person I might think about starting Thielen over is I don't know Terry McLaurin. And I don't know if you would want to sit Drake London anymore. He's just a focal point of that offense.
Yeah, yeah. You can't sit London. That's for
Not
sure.
anymore. You can't. So
No.
I think he played his team the best that he can. If he wants to improve and he wants to stay competitive, he's going to need to get himself quarterbacks, or at least a quarterback that is a top 8 quarterback. You have to
Right.
have a top 8 quarterback if you want at least one. Now, if you got two, you're in a good position. So if Marcus is looking for trades, go for quarterbacks. Maybe you need a stronger running back.
Mark is going for trades.
You got a point. I didn't know it was
That's
jokes
funny.
hour, but yeah,
All right, TC, the matchups from last week, real quick. We'll go over pretty much the TC free agent offers report. You were highly involved, spent a lot of money in this waiver wire pickup a couple of days ago. TC, you threw in the very highest bid so far this year. Romeo Dobbs, Dubes. Is it Dobbs or Dubes? Dubes,
I
Dobbs?
don't know. I've heard it both.
Dobbs?
I've heard Dobbs. I think it might be like I say Dubs because I think it's
Dubs.
cool,
That I
but
mean Dubs is that was pretty good. But heck, you spent a whopping $50 on Romeo. That next highest bid TC was $17.
who was
But you
that?
got your guy. And are you happy?
Yeah, because he has the potential to be Aaron Rodgers' number one wide receiver. Um, I'll take that shot. My team needs any help it can get,
Well, here's the thing.
and
So we kind of talked about this in the group chat. It felt like a podcast conversation.
yeah.
Um, I mean, this reminded me of Kadarius Toney last year. And heck, he did very good, but he was a rookie, and so he doesn't really fall into a keeper category for next year. Do you think Dobbs is going to be in that category?
Well, he has to be in the conversation because of the potential of his number to be the number one. But and especially with Aaron Rodgers, like he's gonna make the good throws to the right people. We all know what kind of person he is. That when you uh, Romeo went 8 for 8 in targets. He caught everything that Aaron Rodgers threw toward him, and I think that's gonna like really help build the chemistry between these two. And he's gonna start looking for this guy who caught every single target the week before. Now I imagine that there will be down games, but it's mostly just the potential. I mean, you looked at it as a Kadarius Toney situation, but did I put $50 on Kadarius Toney? I don't think so. I think I like
No,
picked him up
no, you
early for
didn't.
cheap, and
Yeah.
then I've started him one week and he went off, and then I was like, he's my guy, and he wasn't. He's injury prone, and the Giants dislike him a lot. But I mean, it's fantasy football. I need to hit something here. I need young players who can be my keepers, complete rebuild, like shake down my roster completely. So far, it looks like Brees Hall, if he keeps getting those target share, if he keeps getting those receptions, he's definitely a possibility. I think Chris Olave, he's got a definite possibility. So I've got these young rookie players. If I could have four, three, two, honestly 2 rookies next year as keepers, then I won my draft, in my opinion. Maybe I lost on the year completely, but
That's risky, TC. It's
it is.
risky. But
But
again, you're in kind of a rebuild mode.
yeah.
Real quick, TC, we do have a chat that came up. So I'm going to ask you, start with you. Val next, he asked, would you start Jalen Waddle or would you start Devontae Adams? Good question there. Thanks for that, buddy.
Is it starting this year, or is it just like from here on out? Because that's a tough one. Like, and then you got to look at your flex. Like, if you have those players, what's your running back situation like? And if your running back situation isn't good and you don't want to start one of these players, you could probably trade one of these players as a package and maybe like a lower running back for a stud running back here. Now, if I'm picking between the two of them right now to start, just start and nothing else, I'm going to go Devontae Adams. He's the proven vet. He's the guy you want to stick with. Now, I know Waddle is the fresh new meat, um, but it also depends like who is. Let me look for who the opponents are of these teams also.
Yeah, I'm trying to look.
So Waddle plays tonight, Cincinnati. Cincinnati hasn't been the greatest. The Raiders are playing the Broncos, and the Broncos have had a bunch of really good games defensively. But I mean, I don't know. That's a tough one. I'm going to go Devontae Adams just because of the proven track record. Now, you need to figure this out pretty quick because it is Thursday. So that's my answer, Devontae. What about you, Mr. Ruff?
I think I'm with you. Again, going up against Denver. Um, you know, Devontae Adams, he has seen the end zone every week so far in 3 weeks. But you got Waddle, who has been exploding. And I think that is a tough one, but I think you would have to point your arrow a little bit more with Adams. But heck, if in that situation, I wonder what the situation is because
Yeah.
both of those guys should be starters. They really
Yes,
should.
I agree.
So I wonder, if he's maybe has Stephon Diggs, or that's another, like another one that should be starting over those guys. But I wonder what else the situation is. But I think those guys, both of those, should be starters. But if I had to pick, I would pick Adams over Waddle.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's an easy one. It's not an easy one. With fantasy football, every league's different. The settings are different. You're going to have different scoring formats, and that's going to take. If it's a PPR, like full point PPR, then it brings Waddle even closer because he's a target hog. So if it's half point PPR, then I'm going to go more Devontae for certain. But there are just so many things that go into understanding which players to start with your
absolutely.
lineup too. So, but I
All
think
right.
that's a pretty good take.
Appreciate that for the question there. Let's move on. Continue to knock down this waiver wire list. TC, you had Joshua Palmer for $12. You owned him before, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, and I think you
I was
drafted him,
I did. I was
and
hoping to.
then
I
you
picked
you
up
dropped
Zamir
him, then you
White.
picked him up.
I picked up Zamir White and dropped Josh Palmer because I'm like, oh well, he just got a touchdown last week, which was really what propped him up. Keenan Allen was out, but he's starting to like come into his own. I think a little bit more, getting more and more looks. 4 targets, 8 targets, then 9 targets. So the targets are going up, but that also could be because Keenan Allen was out. But if he continues to play like this, then I think that he becomes trusted by Justin Herbert to make the plays, and especially with Mike Williams doing what he did this past week. I think he only had one catch. I don't know how many targets he had. Let me look real quick.
Who's that?
Mike Williams, like, so I'm just like wondering like where, and it was an underwhelming game. Herbert was dealing with is still dealing with the rib injury. Mike Williams
Well, it
had
just
six
wasn't.
targets
Yeah,
and
it
only
just wasn't
one
a good
reception.
game overall for
So it
Chargers.
wasn't a high scoring game, no. So like I don't know. I see that there is still potential there. I guess I overspent, but I don't think of it as money. I think of it as like go get the players that you want. Like it doesn't matter what they cost. If you can get them, get them. If you want them, go get them. And we can sit here and like debate like maybe I spent too much, but I got the guys I wanted. So at the end of the day, for me, I still won because I knew what I was giving up to get these guys that I wanted. Now
So you
everybody else was
also Yep. Let's speed it through here. We got TC. You also picked up Jacksonville defense for $4. Could have got for zero.
Could have.
Young Hoo Koo $3. Could have got for zero. Broncos defense for $3. Could have got for zero. Um, Tyler Conklin got for two. And then that's it for you.
Well, you can the whole you could have got for zero doesn't apply when you don't know what other people are bidding. So I don't think that could have got for zero matters.
Well, I mean, who coughs up a lot more on certain defenses or kickers? I never spend more than what like $1 than a kicker for a kicker. I don't. Defense, I don't
That's
like doing either. But you spent
that's fair.
two. Yeah, no, it was a three. No, it was two.
Three and two
Between two
and four.
defenses, you spent $7. TC,
Yeah, that's $7 well spent.
is it?
I mean, what else am I going to spend it on? What is
Freaking
$7 going to really
players.
that is $7 going to get me the player that's going to change my team's chances of a lineup like change? No, I don't think so. In the grand scheme of it, I don't think so at all. Now, the only
Oh,
reason this looks bad, okay, well, other people started bidding also, and somebody tried to put $2 on a guy, but $3 on. Then I look great because I outbid him by $1. Now
well,
it's a
on
fine line
players, yeah,
between
not
yes,
defenses.
yeah, but I think defenses are overlooked in our league. I think defenses don't score enough. It's a whole other side of the football that we don't even like pay attention to because I don't know why. Um,
I don't know
I
why.
think we should look into IDPs too because that would be more like skillful. So I mean, I just want to go for. I want to try to find the defenses who are going to have the strongest strength of schedule or like the weakest strength of schedule towards playoff time, so that I don't lose.
Right. All right. So and then Brownie Batter team picked up David Njoku for $9. No one else, I believe, threw in a offer, which is surprising. Actually, Skinny Titans tried for $0. But I mean, David Njoku, he had a good week, but 2 weeks before that, he you know, didn't do anything. So, it's going to be interesting to see how involved he is moving forward, TC. All right, let's move on to our week 4 matchups. We got some good ones this week. We'll go ahead and just start with yours, TC. Will you be in an 0-4 hole? You're going up against the Brownie Batter team. This could be a first victory for you. Brownie Batter team 1-2. You're 0-3. You got some, lots of Qs on your, actually two on your roster, Justin Herbert and Alvin Kamara, but those guys should be good. You threw in Romeo Dobbs in there right away. Another rookie in Chris Olave. You got Tyler Conklin in there as your Conklin as your tight end, Damian Harris and Tony Pollard, your flex play, and then Brees Hall as your other running back, and T Higgins, you're another wide receiver. What do you think about your team, TC?
Yeah. If my guys score touchdown, I score more points. So that's what I'm going for here.
Good
With
strategy.
Higgins and Olave, I think you have to play the hot hand in Olave. I think Higgins is just a great player. You can't not start him. Kamara, same thing. Even though he's had down weeks, when he did get the ball, he did look decent. So I think he's due for a bounce back performance. I'm hoping for like 4 touchdowns this week from him. Nothing too crazy, not 6, but definitely more than 3. With Dobbs, I just kind of it's between him and Ayuk, and I really don't believe in Ayuk at this point. Claypool also I don't really believe in because there's no really fantasy worthy option on the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it's hard to really gauge for the San Francisco with Jimmy G. The only reason he had 11 points, he went 3 for 8 and he got a touchdown, and that was the only reason he even looked that good. So he's not really getting anything. So I'm kind of trying to play the hot hand right now. I need this win, so I got to do what I got to do to get touchdowns. Now I really do like my flex is pretty decent. I think it's consistent. They're going to consistently get me more than 10 points each week, these guys. So I think those are just like, I just set them and leave them now. But it's
Mm-hmm.
hard though, because I'm also trying to get AJ Dillon in there, but he's not getting much, much that JMC Kinley, that team is doo doo. Are you talking about the Savage
I
Patch
think
Kids?
you talked about your team. That's
You
just
know
an
what?
easy guess, though. I think.
You know what? It's okay. Sometimes you gotta like be at the bottom to really appreciate the top.
Full rebuild mode here.
Hmm.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the Brownie batter teams. Got Russell Wilson, Derek Carr as quarterbacks, Barkley and Herbert. Backfield for Chicago, replacing David Montgomery's in there. AJ Brown, Tyreek Hill, Garrett Wilson, still his wide receivers. TC, and he's got Kyle Pitts, tight end, Antonio Gibson, who's been doing pretty good, and Juju Smith Schuster is in there in his second flex spot. I was about to give Connor some crap because, heck, why are you starting Juju? But then I look on his roster and I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. There's not much to choose from. So, I mean, Juju's just a guy that I don't really want to put my trust in right now. I mean, he's last week he was targeted 8 times for 5 catches. Yes, 11 points, but I just don't. I wouldn't feel confident and cocky having Juju in my starting spot there.
Yeah, Juju's not really. I mean, he had that one good year when was his rookie year when Antonio Brown was still on the Steelers. He
Hmm.
looked really good, and ever since then, like there's been this kind of hype that Juju can be good. Yeah, he can, but he spends too much time on TikTok, obviously, to really understand what he's supposed to be doing. I mean, that's not my business. He's still making great money, and he's a professional player. But fantasy wise, I'm not comfortable starting him in my flex like week to week. At this point, but I don't really see anybody else on the bench that can take that spot with Hunter Renfro on the IR, Julio Jones. I don't think Julio Jones will ever be what he used to be. I think he's just injury prone at this point. He's not going to really make his comeback. I know he wants to, and everybody else that owns him want him, but